Nobody likes talking to... You know what? I'm going to sing it an octave higher, because you guys are worth it.
He just does not stop. The Borderlands boss, Gearbox CEO Randy Pitchford, has been having an absolute meltdown in regards to the criticism that they are receiving to the poor optimization and performance of Borderlands 4 thus far on all platforms. Specifically, the criticism has been levied with PC, but there's some issues with that, and we're going to get into that in a second, and there's some sneaky things that Gearbox did that really has not been getting the attention that it deserves, and it's finally time to really call out what Randy Pitchford has been doing here and all of Gearbox Software, the executives, very deliberate things in which we're not getting the full picture right now. And please understand, I am sure that there are PR reps inside of 2K and Gearbox smashing monitors at this point because Randy Pitchford can just not stop. He cannot stop tweeting, cannot stop saying the worst things possible. He has truly tanked this launch through his piss-poor communication. And look, he is a narcissistic, repulsive individual, a bit of a tool. He is a lolcow. I mean, that's what he embodies at this point. Someone that is worth hundreds of millions of dollars, but unfortunately, he is killing his game's launch because he can't stop talking. And look, this is some of the things he said. Code your own engine, which is a foolish thing considering they're not using their own engine. It's a premium game made from premium players. And then he told players to be complacent, stop being 4K stubborn. It looks amazing at 1440p and the trade-off for frames isn't worth it. Another response was, well, we're barely getting any customer service tickets, so that must mean there's barely any issues actually happening with the game. And this is just internet people making a bunch of noise. Randy Pitchford just does not know how to read a room. And unfortunately, all the analysis that is coming in right now, again from some industry veterans, it points that this is a disaster. The guys over at Digital Foundry have done their own investigation. Yeah, it looks as bad as it does. Tech experts say Borderlands 4 on PC runs worse than usual for an Unreal Engine 5 game. That really just says a lot. Advise against badass setting. And specifically, just one remark or two that I wanted to go over. The DF chief, Rich Ledbetter, pointed out that one of the individuals that was testing this experienced stutter on the fastest gaming CPU that money can buy. And remember, Randy Pitchford has been giving lots of responses saying, well, you just need to get a better rig. Well, the rigs that have been built on thousands and thousands of dollars, and they're still getting piss poor optimization and performance. And yes, this happened during the team's testing, suggesting that there is a significant issue here, one that Gearbox and seemingly 2K Games wishes not to acknowledge. And yeah, DF's John Linneman added, this one does seem to be running worse than usual for an Unreal Engine 5 game. It is below where it seems like it should be given how other games using this engine perform. And a reminder, just this last year alone, so many UE5 disasters, and it seems like Borderlands 4 is right up there at the top, and that just says a lot about how optimization was not a priority for Gearbox Software, but unfortunately this is a perspective that Randy Pitchford totally rejects right now, and he is still having absolute meltdowns on social media with people criticizing him and the studio. And this was one of his recent responses. We talked about this last video as a lengthy 20-tweet thing, but every PC gamer must accept the reality of the relationship between their hardware and what the software they are running is doing. What an ignorant response to say. And he did get community noted, with the publisher of a game is responsible of providing accurate, recommend, and minimal specs, since the consumers has absolutely no way to check how the game is going to run in the hardware before release. And that's correct. And we actually did see Forbes' Paul Tassi respond to this, saying, I'm on recommend specs, and my game just crashed so hard I had to remove and rebuild the entire shader cache. And then another response he gave to Notch, the creator of Minecraft. Be a man, dude, Notch said here. And then Randy, I guess, tried making a joke of sorts. Every man must accept the reality of the relationship between their I don't know what he's doing here. I'm guessing this is the comedian side of him. He's trying to make jokes, make lighthearted. It's not going well, though, as you can see people out with their pitchforks. And yeah, just lots of people calling him out. Another response, again, I really need people to understand this is not normal behavior for a video game executive or really any C-suit. And it's not making things better. It's just making it so much worse and turning people off from what appears to be a good game when it performs properly. And yeah, another person saying, I get my PC is aging, but I turned down my graphics immediately and was getting an unstable 50 FPS in the spawn room with DLSS. And Randy said, I would absolutely expect Battlefield 6 to be be built to prioritize FPS more than Borderlands 4. One is a competitive shooter. He loves to like rely on the fact that we're a campaign looter shooter. Like that's a fucking excuse at this point. You know, a game that really shouldn't be graphically demanding considering its aesthetic. And then another response, Randy, games that look better play better than Borderlands 4. Look at Borderlands 2. He says min spec absolutely plays at 30 FPS. I've seen clips well below 30. That is not a stable 30, and he's not acknowledging that. Recommend specs play at 60. Again, it's lower than that. Good systems with good tuning can go much, much higher. Again, he's just recommending frame gen and AI upscale, which is nonsense. Would you like help tuning with your personal specification? Another response, I can run Cyberpunk 2077 and Ultra. He did not like this one. He did not like the comparison to Cyberpunk, but that is exactly something that it should be brought up at this point, considering how intense and demanding Cyberpunk 2077 over its lifespan has become. And Randy, he said, Cyberpunk is a different piece of software and it's 5 years old. You are welcome to play it. You can also get help tuning your balance between FPS resolution, blah, 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 blah. And I think people need to understand Cyberpunk 2077 has realistic graphics. It is trying to be a demanding experience. This should not be the case for Borderlands 4. And look, he's just trying to be the customer service rep here. I think it's late at night right now. I don't know if he's on the East Coast, West Coast, but it's late at night. And he's just crashing out once again, responding to every single individual he can get, acting as a customer service rep. It really is embarrassing behavior from him. And look, the one thing I really wanted to talk about is console performance, because this is not getting the attention that it deserves. Obviously, you know, the PC performance is a nightmare and disaster, but it's truly the same story on console, PlayStation 5 and Xbox. And notebookcheck.com, they point out Borderlands 4 players bemoan the lack of a PS5 Pro patch as performance concerns mount. This was right before launch, or right around launch. Sony's most powerful console isn't preventing Borderlands 4 performance issues. Lacking a patch, the PS5 Pro game exhibits poor optimization and frequent stuttering. Some gamers criticize developers for not releasing more PS5 Pro enhanced games. So those concerns have been there, and I think it is worth noting, this is what Randy Pitchford had to say in regards to the performance. This is before launch, right at the end of August. And somebody asked, you know, how's the performance on console? Because I don't believe that they had released any like actual gameplay footage from that. He said, yes, PS5 and Series X are buttery smooth. Buttery smooth, he went with. Series S is good too. Now this very much so reminds me of Cyberpunk 2077 again, because we heard from CDPR's executives before that nightmarish launch, similar rhetoric. They were just saying to investors, no, it's going to run great on those consoles. And truly that was not the case. And unfortunately, it's not running well on Borderlands 4 either. Borderlands 4 on the Pro, these was just 4 days ago, right around launch, and many individuals, there's not one positive comment in here. Been playing for a while now on Pro, it's alright. There's definitely FPS stutters often, along with some rendering issues that take a moment. Another individual saying, it runs like shit in performance mode. Don't be fooled at the beginning. Everything runs very smoothly in the tutorial section, but as soon as you enter the wider world, which is a common problem with UE5 games with the open world, the problems start, especially during combat. Absolutely terrible FPS drops. And this is where things get into suspicious territory. I think people need to understand it's one thing to lie about performance, it's also trying to be secretive. And I am saying I think Gearbox Software was deliberately trying to hide the performance on console, and they didn't want a lot of attention on that. I say that because of this. These are the reviews for Borderlands 4. This is where you start to really understand what's going on with the behavior and just some of the decisions that's happening behind the scenes. The PC review page has 66 critic reviews. That's nice. And yeah, it has an overall nice, decent 84 out of 100 score. A lot of, praise, and a lot of reviewers not necessarily prioritizing, the performance in their reviews. But what's suspicious is when you click that view all platforms, what do you notice here? There is absolutely no reviews at all for these other platforms, such as the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. And don't be fooled by those one critic reviews, they just came in the last day or so. And even so, while they're 80s, they all bring it up here in their reviews as well. Borderlands 4 seeks to right the wrongs by simply upgrading everything. However, the performance issues and bugs affect the overall experience, preventing the game from being the best version of itself. It's the same story with the Xbox Series X review as well. They're all saying there is performance issues just widespread on every single platform. And now, while those reviews are suspicious in of itself, I think a lot of you may be thinking, wow, you know what happened with Cyberpunk 2077 as well? The developer, the publisher, did not allow, console codes to be released prior to launch, and there was accusations thrown at CDPR that they were trying to hide the performance for the console versions. And you know what? I get Borderlands 4 doesn't have the hype and attention that Cyberpunk 2077, had, but it very much seems like it's following that same exact fucking playbook. And I say that because one outlet, Push Square, did request a console code. Where's our Borderlands 4 PS5 review? We're ready and waiting. And they say specifically, well, we were kindly offered a PC review code to cover Borderlands 4. It's our site policy for all reviews to be on PlayStation hardware. PS5 review code was not made available to us. They were rejected. They were told, you're not getting a PlayStation 5 code right now. And as far as we are aware, no console review code whatsoever has been distributed to media outlets. Therefore, every review published today will be based on the PC build. We've been told to expect our PS5 review code at launch, so our coverage will start then from the 12th of September. That is absolutely unacceptable. CDPR for that behavior got like giant notes on the review page, and I genuinely think, obviously I don't think Borderlands 4 is anywhere near as bad as the Cyberpunk 2077's launch on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, but there is just so many different issues. And look, this is what players are saying right now in the last couple of days. Anyone else experiencing extremely low frame rate on Xbox Series X, and somebody saying you have to restart the game because there is a memory leak. This is something that is on all these platforms, and again, Gearbox not talking about this or even acknowledging it. Another individual saying PS5 textures not rendering. This is just one of the examples of the many bugs and issues that are plaguing the platform, and sure, it is going to be addressed. It is going to be fixed. Obviously, it's going to take time, though, because this game wasn't ready for showtime, and it probably needed a couple more weeks of, QA testing and optimization work. But yeah, as we're seeing from this industry, this is just something that isn't prioritized these days. There is a mentality to fix it later on. Another post, this is where it gets even more unacceptable. PS5 peak performance 1 FPS. And yeah, let's watch this clip. Let's see this in action. This isn't my computer. This is legitimately how it is performing for this player on a PlayStation 5. Don't listen to people saying it's perfect on console. It behaves awfully with this happening constantly. Look at that. That's unplayable. That is unacceptable. That is horrific. And this isn't like one individual saying this. There's widespread reports on social media that this is happening to so many different players. But if you listen to Randy Pitchford, the game's running butterly smooth. It's beautiful. It's the best thing ever. Another post, and this is one individual, they summarize all of this saying the PS5 Pro version is not good. I want to be upfront and say I'm very sincere with this post. It's totally fine that people are playing and having fun, but that doesn't excuse the fact that this is one of the most underbaked console releases I've seen in a long time. Here's some of the things I've noticed on PS5 Pro after playing for a little more than an hour. Performance and quality modes have minimal to no difference in fidelity, only resolution. This alone shows the console versions have had barely any optimization, dropped frames, stuttering, inconsistent frame rate, HDR is poorly implemented, cutscenes are below 30 FPS, character models' textures are really high quality, will sometimes load late, textures for the environment, especially the ground and guns, frequently don't load properly, are much lower res, lighting and fog is decent, shaders are decently sharp but very stripped back, reflections are low quality, vending machine signs are low res and only render correctly until you stand right in front, no FOV slider fixed around 65 to 70, aiming feels off with no turn acceleration, ramp up sliders, poorly tuned dead zones, and poorly implemented aim assist snap. Menu cursor has a bafflingly large dead zone. The UI is really clunky and slow to interact with due to binding multiple interactions to the same face buttons. No options to disable adaptive triggers, motion blur, chromatic aberration, or film grain. This is absolutely unacceptable, and this is what everybody is criticizing right now. And if you go on social media, you just search up the PlayStation 5 for Borderlands 4, and you see the post the last couple of days, it's just non-stop posts of people criticizing. And it's not even just like the PlayStation 5. This is another viral post that was talked about endlessly today. Here it is. Look, this is Endgame Harlow is virtually unplayable right now on Xbox. Here's a clip. They engage in combat, and yeah, that's less than 10 FPS. Like, how do you launch a game like this? I just don't get it. And it seems like those combat moments, this is where things really show its face for how poorly optimized this experience is. And that's why I do think it was a deliberate decision to not have reviews for these, you know, consoles available. Because Gearbox and the executives, or whoever was making the decisions, Randy Pitchford, they knew that this was going to show its face, and they didn't want that to be considered in these review scores day one. And look, another video they share that doesn't even show anything. It just stops working. Yeah, it seems to be common when encountering the vile enemies after killing vile Lictor. Any suggestions? Get a refund. Oh my god. This is seriously that bad. I don't understand how. I do understand. This developer did not care about respecting players' time, money, and they didn't respect the, you know, the optimization process that was necessary for this experience. And look, there's just so many more posts. I'm going to show them really quickly, but yeah, this is another post we talked about the other day. It's not another bad PC port narrative, because it looks like ass on PS5 and still delivers a low frame rate. And yeah, some of the testing that has been done on the PlayStation 5, you can see it's falling well below 60 FPS.
During a bit of a boss battle, right, and you can see that the frame rate drops into the mid 40s. The frame times are a lot more erratic than in my previous video, and performance is just a lot more inconsistent when there's a lot happening on the screen, right, especially during these boss battles.
Yeah,
So
performance
a lot
mode,
of
and
people
it's just not stable.
commented and pointed this out, and yes, correct, the game does get more demanding the further you play, or depending on...
Yeah, it's being said right now that there is a memory leak. So you see some of those clips I just showed a second ago. Everybody is warning players that if you play this game for more than a couple hours, you're going to run into this, and you're going to have to restart the game every single time, or it's just going to constantly happen until eventually, obviously, Gearbox fixes these issues. And yeah, mostly positive reviews points out, I believe this is a CPU bottleneck, as even with no action on the screen and just a few enemies with view, 4 or more, the frame rate starts to drop. As soon as the enemies are killed, we go back to 60. The Borderlands 4 devs are continually bashing PC players, saying their rigs aren't powerful enough for the settings they are targeting. Even if that was true, it's not. Why does it run like this on console in a slightly heavy scene? Not even as heavy as it can get. The game is a hot mess in terms of performance on all platforms, and even top-end rigs are struggling. Another post, this is Randy Pitchford. Again, this is actually just tonight. This is what he said. Somebody said, Randy, just put down your phone at this point. He should. The game is good. The performance is dog shit, plus also on the PlayStation 5. Randy says, I'm literally watching my wife play PlayStation 5 right now, and it's awesome. And then people rightfully call him out for this. On PS5, after about 2 hours, it starts to lag. Another individual saying, Randy, some people are not having the same problems as others on PS5. Like, I'm on PS5 and the game runs poorly on some areas and in combat, especially co-op online. And yeah, many other individuals calling him out. Another post, like I said, this is where things... It's just so many different problems that are racking up. This person says, Borderlands 4 on PS5 looks like half the textures aren't loading. It looks like a game from 2000s. How was this greenlighted for release? Yeah, and if you look closely, it looks bad. It does. Yeah, the quality, this looks like 480p, maybe even less. And then, yeah, he shared some screenshots, and yeah, it looks dated. It does. It just totally unacceptable in my opinion. And yeah, those are the texture quality. It looks horrible. It does. And for a game like this, it should not be that way. And somebody else shared screenshots that they've been experiencing. And again, it just reminds me of Cyberpunk 2077. Look at that. Look at that texture quality. It looks exactly like Cyberpunk 2077. Even Saints Row the Remake at launch. My God, it truly is baffling that they let this happen. Another individual saying, I feel like I'm going crazy. Everyone's saying how performance on Borderlands 4 and PS5 is near solid 60. That could be farther from the case on my end. I tried on a PS5 and PS5 Pro, and I often felt like I was getting 45 to 50 because that's exactly what's been happening, and it's continued for players. Another person, again, just many individuals reporting all of the different issues. This person saying, I just had my first 4-player game in Borderlands 4 on Xbox Series X, and though it was fun, the performance was really bad, not even close to 60 FPS, which Randy loves to keep saying that, oh, it's running butterly smooth. It's clearly not. Another individual saying the performance issues for Borderlands 4 a real concern that need to be addressed ASAP. I'm playing on Xbox, and I have died plenty of times as a result of the stuttering and frame rate drops. Another post. It's non-stop. Everybody pointing out, and yeah, here's an example of the memory leak issue with Borderlands 4 on console. This is on a PS5 Pro. Left is a 6-hour play session running 31 FPS. Right is after quitting and continuing, not closing app, running full 60 FPS. Slowed down to make it easier to see the difference. And here's the clip. And yeah, there is a notable difference. Yeah, he slowed it down right there. So yeah, I guess right now, if you paid $70 75 or whatever it is, and if you paid for a premium edition, or maybe even well over $100, you gotta wait for Gearbox software to fix this disaster. And again, it's a premium game for premium players, and you would expect, them to give everybody a premium experience for that. But unfortunately, that wasn't a priority for these developers and Randy Pitchford, who continues to play dumb on social media and just constantly complain. And I guess now tonight he's decided to be a customer service rep, and the only thing he's doing that for is PC players, because I guess he doesn't want to acknowledge the console's issues for some reason. Oh, and by the way, of all the responses that he's been giving all night long, it almost feels robotic, like ChatGPT generated. Legitimately, he's just repeating everything that he's been saying the last couple of days of, you're gonna need to take trade-offs, you need to do frame gen, blah 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 blah. But yeah, this has been a total disaster. Borderlands 4, it seems like it is a good game underneath all of this filth, but unfortunately, the discussion right now is on the optimization side, as well as Randy Pitchford's behavior on social media, which we just constantly keep getting headlines of him saying the absolute worst things that you could possibly say with this game launch. But anyway, what do you make about Borderlands 4? Have you played it? Have you tried it? Let me know your thoughts on that down in the comment section below and everything we talked about today. But thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this video, or if you found any informative value. Consider subscribing for more videos like this, and I'll see you later.